My grandfather told me a simple thing. Sometimes victory doesn't end a story, it tests it. That's how he talked about Toussaint Louverture's betrayal in 1802. And today I'm passing that story on. By this point, Saint-Domingue, known as Haiti today, had survived years of war. And finally, slavery had been abolished by the French Republic. Under Toussaint's leadership, foreign armies were pushed out, fields were coming back, and a new 1801 constitution which said slavery would never return. It wasn't peaceful, but it was a path you could walk without chains. Across the ocean, Napoleon Bonaparte had a different plan. He wanted tight control over the island, and across the Caribbean, the return of plantation profits, even if that meant bringing back slavery where he could. So he sent a massive expedition under his brother-in-law, General Charles Leclerc. Now imagine the view. The horizon was crowded with warships, flags like a storm. They came with two voices. The first voice said, "We come as friends. Lay down your arms. We respect your freedom." The second voice was the clink of bayonets and the thud of boots. Fighting flared along the coasts and in the hills. Toussaint and his top generals, Jean-Jacques and Henry Christophe, moved and hit again. They wanted to take the towns, but they were burned rather than handed over. The lines bent, but they didn't break. Then came the turn, because they couldn't take the island by force, so they came up with a plan. Leclerc needed the war to end fast, so sent messages offering safe conduct and amnesty. "Come to the table," he said. "Let's settle this without more blood." After years of chaos, that sounded like water to a thirsty island. Toussaint agreed to talks, in hopes of avoiding more of his people dying. He'd always mixed strategy with negotiation. He believed he could protect the freedom already won. For a moment, the island exhaled. Units stood down. Papers were signed. A promise was made. But that promise was not kept. In June 1802, after meetings and written assurances, Toussaint was seized. No public trial, no open court. He came under a promise of safety. Instead, they grabbed him, shipped him to France, and locked the door. My grandfather liked to say, "Sometimes the knife hides in the handshake." This was one of those times. The voyage to France was cold and quiet. Toussaint was taken to Fort-de-Joux, a stone prison in the Jura Mountains. Damp cell, thin air, hard winters. We still have some of his letters, calm, proud, certain that history would judge. But the walls didn't answer back. Meanwhile, on the island, the mask slipped. French commanders began rolling back the freedoms they had promised to respect. Across the Caribbean, Napoleon restored slavery where his armies could enforce it. People in Saint-Domingue saw exactly what was coming. The fight returned with a new answer to the old question: independence or chains? This is where my grandfather would lower his voice and say, "When one lamp goes dark, you pass the flame." Leadership shifted to Dessalines Christophe and Alexandre Pétion. Men who had fought beside Toussaint now fought for the ground itself. The war changed flavor. Fewer half measures, fewer illusions. So they decided if a field would feed an army that meant to enslave them, then they shall burn those fields. Villages moved by torchlight. Drums carried messages the way couriers once did. The island braced itself. Back in France, winter gnawed at Fort-de-Joux. In April 1803, far from the island he helped shape, Toussaint died behind stone and iron. They locked up the man. They did not lock up the idea nor the vision. On the island, disease hit first and hardest. Within a year, yellow fever killed well over half of Leclerc's troops and Leclerc himself. Command passed to Rochambeau, who tried to win with terror. It didn't work. The land fought with the people, mountains, heat, storms, and a long memory for every path through cane and rock. Haitian forces learned the French patterns and broke them. The endgame came at Vertières on November 18, 1803, the last major battle of the Haitian Revolution. Haitian assaults pounded the French lines around. The most famous moment is Capolamort's charge. His horse was shot. He kept advancing on foot. They even say the French briefly ceased fire to salute his courage. Then the battle resumed. Grandpa said, "Haitians won at Vertières." Vertières broke French rule in Saint-Domingue. On January 1, 1804, Dessalines declared Haiti independent, the first free black republic and the only nation born from a successful slave revolution. So what does this betrayal mean in the larger story? First, it proves that freedom on paper is fragile when power won't honor it. Toussaint tried to secure liberty inside the French system. Napoleon's expedition showed the limits of trusting a system that could change with the weather in Paris. Second, it forced a clear choice. Were people fighting for better treatment under a master, or to end mastery itself? After 1802, the answer was set. The road pointed straight to independence. Third, it shows what kind of leader Toussaint was. He was a builder of armies, rules, and a future that could hold. Even when he was taken, the structure he built stood up. Others carried it forward to the finish line. Here's where I bring my grandfather back in. We pictured a lamp in a window before a storm. The wind might blow it out, but if you pass that flame, hand to hand, before the storm hits, the light keeps moving. Toussaint's lamp did not die in that cell. It moved to Dessalines, to Christophe, to Picien, and to thousands of people whose names we don't know. That's how a betrayal turned into a road, and that road led to 1804. We will not forget.